The air was sharp. Claire exhaled slowly. I was just trying to help. And you did more than you know, which is why I can't walk away and leave you unprotected. Her eyes searched his face for signs of exaggeration, for cracks in the story, but he was terrifyingly sincere. So, what are you offering me? A bodyguard? I'm offering you a choice, he said. You can leave this all behind. Change your name. Relocate. We'll make sure you vanish, safe, protected. She raised an eyebrow. Or, he said, you join me. Claire laughed, a sharp sound that surprised even her. Join you? Doing what? Doing what you were born to do, helping people, saving lives, using that instinct of yours for something far bigger than the hospital ever let you imagine. She stared at him. Everything about her life had crumbled in the last 24 hours. She'd lost her job, her peace, her anonymity. But in this strange, surreal moment, standing in a dim apartment lit by the fading light of day, a door had opened she hadn't even known existed. What's the catch? She asked. There isn't one, Dominic said. Just a decision. You saved my life. Now I'm offering you a new one. She looked out the window. The 5 black SUVs were still there, waiting. Months had passed since Claire Reynolds opened the door to 5 black SUVs and came face to face with a man she had pulled from death's edge. What she thought would be a brief, awkward thank you turned out to be the beginning of a new chapter. One she never could have written for herself. Dominic Kessler wasn't just some grateful accident victim. He was a billionaire healthcare entrepreneur, the silent force behind one of the most advanced private hospital networks in the United States. And he had come not just to express gratitude but to make Claire an offer. You saved my life, he said, standing in her modest Denver apartment. Let me give you a place where you can save more. 2 weeks later, Claire stepped out of a sleek black sedan and into the soaring glass atrium of Kessler Memorial Medical Center, nestled in the foothills just outside Denver, Colorado. The building gleamed under the morning sun, sleek architecture, tranquil gardens, and wide hallways that whispered of calm rather than chaos. She was no longer a nurse dismissed for doing the right thing. She was the chief nursing officer. At first, Claire had resisted. I'm not an executive, she told Dominic. I'm a trauma nurse. I belong on the floor, not behind a desk. That's exactly why you belong here, he replied. I don't need another administrator in heels quoting numbers. I need someone who has bled in scrubs. Someone who knows what it's like to be awake at 4 a.m. with nothing but hope and muscle memory. The position came with a generous salary, a corner office with mountain views, and a staff of over 400 nurses. Claire kept the salary, ignored the office, and earned the staff's respect from her very first day. Claire made it clear she wasn't here to rule. She was here to build. She visited every wing, spoke to every shift, and learned every name. Nurses who expected orders got listening instead. Interns who expected indifference got mentorship. Seasoned staff who expected to keep their distance found themselves invited into policy discussions. She transformed Kessler Memorial not by command, but by compassion. Within 2 months, she revamped the trauma triage protocol, shaving critical seconds off intake times. She fought for increased mental health services for staff, citing her own years of burnout. She established a quiet room for nurses to decompress after high-stress situations. She launched quarterly skill refreshers, not as tests, but as collaborative workshops. And Claire wasn't in meetings all day. She walked the halls. She assisted with intubations. She de-escalated families on the brink of breaking. She scrubbed in for emergency surgeries, not because she had to, but because she needed to stay close to the beating heart of the job. One snowy evening, a young nurse found her mopping up after code blue in pediatrics. You don't have to do that. Claire looked up, sweat on her brow, and smiled. Neither do you, but we're here, aren't we? That's how legends begin. They called her the Pulse, because when she was in the building, everyone felt steadier. Word began to spread. Nurses from out of state applied just to work under her. Locals who had left the profession returned after hearing about the environment she had created. Kessler Memorial went from just another private hospital to the most respected facility in the region. Meanwhile, Claire's old hospital faced public scrutiny once the viral video of a cliffside rescue caught wind again, followed by news of her being fired for saving a life. People began asking questions. The backlash was swift and relentless. Protests happened outside the facility. National nursing organizations issued public statements of support for Claire. Hashtags like #StandWithClaire and #NursesAreHuman trended on Twitter for weeks. The hospital's leadership tried to pivot. They sent a press release offering her an apology and an open invitation to return, this time as Director of Emergency Services. They even offered to name a wing after her. Claire never responded because by then she was no longer just a nurse or a headline. She was a movement. She received letters from across the country, from nurses who said she gave them the courage to speak up, from patients who wished more people like her existed, from young women who said she was a reason they applied to nursing school. One came from a father in Illinois. My daughter died in a hospital hallway because the staff was too afraid of breaking protocol. I wish you had been there. I wish more of you existed. Claire cried reading that one, but she used it. She printed it, framed it, hung it in the staff lounge next to a sign that read, When it's right, you don't ask permission. You act. And still Claire stayed humble. She biked to work. She volunteered on weekends at free clinics. She took night calls when the ER was overwhelmed. She refused a company car, opted out of the hospital's executive parking, and insisted her desk be positioned near the main nurse station. Dominic visited often, not to micromanage, but always with eyes that shined with quiet pride. "You've done more in 6 months than most administrators do in a decade," he told her once. "I'm not building a system," Claire replied. "I'm repairing one that forgot its heart." He never forgot that line. One day, a former Crestview nurse applied to Kessler. During the interview, she broke down in tears. "I was so afraid to care, afraid that if I did the right thing, I'd be punished too." Claire handed her a tissue. "Not here," she said. "Here, you'll be praised for it." And she meant it. Because by then Claire had restructured the hospital's internal response policies, ensuring that staff who stepped in during a crisis, even off-duty, were backed, protected, and celebrated. She brought on board a legal consultant to help draft national guidelines to protect nurses in all 50 states. She didn't just want to lead a hospital, she wanted to change healthcare. One evening, as snow fell softly over Denver, Claire stood outside the hospital watching the city lights shimmer in the distance. She was bundled in a heavy coat, sipping hot cocoa from a paper cup. Dominic joined her quietly. "You know," he said, "I had no idea what I was doing when I made you chief nurse." She raised an eyebrow. "That's supposed to be a compliment." "I thought I was rescuing you," he said. "But you rescued the hospital. You turned it into a living, breathing promise." Claire looked at the glowing emergency entrance. "It's not about me. It never was." "I know," Dominic said, "and that's why everyone follows you." As spring approached, so did new opportunities. Medical schools asked her to speak. Podcasts requested interviews. Her name was floated for national leadership in nursing reform. But Claire always returned to the floor because no matter how high her title, she believed healing started not in offices, but at the bedside. She kept her badge clipped just under her collarbone. It read, "Claire Reynolds, Chief Nursing Officer, Kessler Memorial Medical Center." But if you asked any of the nurses, they'd tell you she was just Claire, the one who understood, the one who showed up, the one who made it safe to care again. Exactly 1 year to the day since she descended a cliffside trail to save a stranger's life, Claire Reynolds returned to Boulder. Not in scrubs, not carrying gauze or grit or grief, but as a woman transformed. There was no press release, no red carpet, no convoy of SUVs. This time, just Claire in a navy blue dress, her hair swept simply off her shoulders, stepping out of a quiet black sedan and onto the stone steps of Boulder's historic city hall. It was late spring, and the trees lining Pearl Street were in full bloom, pink petals dotting the pavement like scattered confetti. The air smelled of fresh beginnings. To the world, her story had faded into legend, WH.